All right, so I got this back in the shop. Just gonna take all this marking tape off and sand it up. There's a few places where there's some pretty good differences between the two fittings, and we'll just have to gradually taper them back so they're not too noticeable. Now what I'm doing here is I've got some paring chisels that I bought from a friend of mine who is totally getting out of the business. Instead of taking a chance with a sander, I've got quite a lip here where the easing and the turn meet, and I just don't have the faith to tackle it with my RO90 just because I'm sure that it's going to make some indents and whatnot. So I'm trying these paring chisels. And please don't be too hard on me in the comments for those of you who are chisel purists and stuff. The fact is that I don't do a lot of this kind of work. But I'm going to start. I'm going to start doing more and more of this kind of work as time progresses. And I'm confident it'll turn out well. I just have to take my time and get a good start. I don't want a drastic shoulder where the fittings meet. You know, I don't want a big dimple where they meet. I have to kind of gradually make the pieces slope into one another so that, you know, to the eye it will not look obvious. So one of the things that's sort of a drawback from using contoured railing is that because of the contours, you do have to do a lot of hand sanding. And whereas in the rectangular, more contemporary stuff, you're using mostly a electric sander. So keep that in mind when you're pricing these railings out, making all these connections. Now right here I've got a couple of dings in the railing. You can see them right here. And rather than try and sand down, you know, 1/2 millimeter into the surface of the railing to get rid of them, I'm going to try this iron trick where you use a damp cloth. And I'm sure many of you have seen this trick before, but we're going to just see if this will do the job here, make an improvement. And I wanted to catch it on film just to show you. There's the damp cloth. And the iron. Now let's see. I don't know. I think it's been raised a bit, but we'll try it again, see what happens. All right, I would say that that's improved, but it's not 100%. All right, one more time. This time I've added a little more water to the cloth. I would say that's definitely improved. I don't think you can 100% get the dents out of using this technique, but it's good enough to you know, mitigate the damage. you know, 70% or so. One of the things that's really a nuisance and really time consuming with this old style of balusters and even the newel post is sanding all these contoured balusters. Man, it takes forever. If you've got an idea how to do it more efficiently than just rubbing it down with light sandpaper, let me know in the comments. All right, so I'm just rubbing down this railing with a damp sponge. Once it dries, I'm going to give it a light sanding, and then I'm going to stain it and clear coat it once the stain is dry. I will leave a link for my video on staining railing products right here if you want more information on that. All right, so I'm partway through my staining process. You can see here I've got this newel post on a piece of melamine, just any kind of scrap with a screw through the bottom to help it, you know, stay in place, because you got to do all four sides. That's the most practical way to do it. I will say that anywhere where you have a turned end grain like so, the stain is going to take a lot better or a lot quicker. It tends to be darker, so just be cautious of that and just hit it lightly. And then over here, I've got a railing done, and quite happy with that. And another small one here. And I've got my railing brackets sitting on the bench here so that I can, you know, stain them, stick them on the bench. Again, this stain will take really well. And I've got my plugs done, hot glued onto a piece of melamine. And then what I wanted to show you is this is that really critical piece of railing, the railing easing turn deal. And what I want to explain to you, what I've done is I've popped a screw through a block of wood and into the screw hole in the bottom of the railing where the brackets are going to go. And that way I can just set this railing like so, and basically by moving it back and forth, you know, I can do the entire railing without having a portion of the railing sitting on the bench and the stain, you know, blotching up the job there. This one here, most of the railing will have a solid rail, and that's where that comes in handy. I can just slip my brush underneath that 2x2, get the stain right in there, and do the whole thing in one shot. Every now and then when you're doing this, you'll run into a spot where there's a bit of glue showing, and I've cleaned that up already on this piece of railing and added more stain to it. There is a bit of glue right here, and I'll show you a little bit of glue on this end right in there. I'm going to hit that with a sander and fix that up. And then I have my balusters hanging from the ceiling. Same idea, so I can do the whole baluster in one shot and just let it dry hanging on the ceiling, so I don't have to handle it and mark up the stain as I'm waiting for it to dry. All right, so all this hard work has paid off. This railing just looks really good. And all that detail sanding and chiseling and whatnot just really pays off at the end. Sometimes these jobs can be really tedious, but the end product just gives you that sense of satisfaction that I'm feeling right now. Very happy with everything here. One of the things I was going to mention is that I use the foam brushes for applicating the stain. This is a Minwax product, and I'll use a main brush for putting the stain on, but then if you get sort of too much sitting in the grooves and whatnot, I'll pick that excess off with a fresh brush and so that I don't have like a pond of stain sitting on the workpiece. One other thing, sometimes you'll get stain blotching. You can see in here. And it's almost like there's too much on there. So I'll just give that a little stroke. Pick that up. And then, as I pointed out in my staining video, there's a time and place for you to just walk away and leave the project alone and just let it dry. Because you can often make things worse by touching it here and there. All right, so this is the morning after the staining process. I used Minwax wood finish in Early American, and the number is 230. It is an oil-based stain, and I just want to show you something I do. I picked this trick up from a painter. As I put little cuts in the rim, at least 2 of them, with this tool here, and I just drive that down through here. It doesn't take much force. And then there's a way for the stain and clear coat, whatever it is, to drain from inside this rim. The other thing I wanted to show you is, here is the sample piece that the customer has approved. Early American with Varathane triple thick. This is the 2 products actually the customer supplied. So I made sure that, you know, they would adhere properly, and that most importantly, that they approved of the color. Now I'll just stir up this clear coat and start applying it. Both of these products recommend that you don't shake them, rather you stir them. So I will stir up this triple thick Varathane and start applying it with a foam brush, and I'll start in the very same order that I did yesterday. With the piece that I did first with stain, I'll do that first with clear coat. You'll notice I'm wearing my headlamp here so I can see where the glare is from the clear coat that I've applied, and that's why I wear the headlamp. In Northern Ontario we call it a dork light, because that's what you look like when you wear one. Well, I should note that it's -20 outside right now, February 29th. But I got my shop set around 18 degrees, which is about 68 degrees Fahrenheit, so we should have decent results. And one of the things I like about the process of going with a water-based clear coat over top of a stained product that is oil-based is I don't have stain flowing on my brush. Like normally, if I was to do like a water-based stain and then a water-based clear coat, the stain will move all over the place as you're applying the clear coat. And this is a nice change, because the stain is not flowing, as you can see here. If it was, then my brush would have stain on it, and it doesn't. All right, so that railing is done with 1 coat. This triple thick stuff, there's a little comment on the label. It says ultimate durability in 1 coat. Now, I have never used a paint or clear coat or whatever product that is 1 coat. So if you have experience with a real true 1 coat paint or clear coat, let me know, because I think it's an impossibility. Now, I will say that the stain only required 1 coat, and that's probably the first time I've ever stained something and had 1 coat do the job. All right, so that's that railing with the first coat of clear on. And I'll just sight down the railing, and I can see a couple of spots down in here, one right here, one here where it looks a little bit light, either that or it's drying already. But I'll tell you what, that looks really good. Even this joint here, you can see that somehow it looks like the railing is continuous just by the way this grain is matching, even though this piece here is a plowed rail and this is solid, so it's clearly not from the same run. Just a little bonus. Easing looks really good, nice transitions, no glue spots. And one of the things I will say about joining railings, you really have to pour the coals to the sanding when you glue two surfaces, because boy, if you have a glue spot, it will not take the stain and you end up going back to the drawing board and sanding it out and redoing it. And one of the perils of resanding a piece of furniture is that often you have to sand the entire surface, because if you do one section, it'll be visible later for some reason. All right, so it's been about 4 hours since I did the last coat of all these components, and I think I'm just going to give it a light sand with 320, going with the grain, being very careful I don't expose any corners or edges. I know I did say that there's no such thing as a one coat clear finish, but this would be the closest I've ever found is this stuff right here. I would say that, yeah, it's best to do a second coat on this, but it is actually very good. And the reason I'm going to do a second coat is just, I think it's going to get lots of traffic, and it does feel a little bit rough when I run my hand along here. So yeah, I'll do a second coat. But I have to compliment this product here that it's very close to being a one coat, which I've never experienced before. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to video doing a second coat and bore you to tears. I'm just going to do it, and then the next step will be installing all these railings, the posts and the balusters, and sort of putting a wrap on the job at the job site. So don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, even give me a super like if you want to buy me a coffee or something. And just thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.